This conference will now be recorded.
And I'm sharing my screen. Just a moment. Okay, so OOPS ABAP, when the name comes OOPS ABAP, we generally think that we already having a procedural programming called ABAP. We are already having ABAP in the form of procedural programming away. Then why this OOPS again comes into the picture? Okay, so first we will see that why OOPS. Okay, first we'll see that why OOPS. Then we'll be better able to understand, you know, that why the class, the inheritance, polymorphism, data hiding, abstraction, all these concept comes into the picture. Okay, so once the requirement is going to get clear, we'll be able to understand that why nowadays people are more focusing on the OOPS oriented approach than the procedural approach. Okay, however, if we talk about the syllabus, okay, then in the syllabus we are OOPS ABAP, we are having this syllabus. Just a second. Yeah, we are having this syllabus. This syllabus we are going to cover. So this OOPS ABAP we have uh, categorized into several parts. The first part is a basic concept. Under this basic concept, we are going to learn all the mandatory concept like you know the class, the components, the attributes of the classes, right? Then the visibility, how we can create the local class, how we can create the method, static, instance, the exception also, exception handling also. We are going to learn the standard exceptions, try and catch block, standard exception messages, user defined exceptions. Okay, some important keyword like raging keyword, cleanup, me, load, and deferred. Then we also will be learning that how a method can be converted into the T code, like with the help of T code, how we can execute a method. It's very easy. Constructors we are going to learn in detail. Okay, instance constructor, static constructor, parameter constructor with parameters. Then the next section we are having, where we'll be discussing about the advanced OOPS ABAP. Here also we are going to see some more feature of the exception handling with the OTR, exception classes with the message classes. Then the polymorphism we are going to see, method overloading, method overriding, redefinition keyword, super keyword, final classes, final methods, abstract classes, interfaces, how we can use the aliases, implementing interfaces, how we can implement interface. So then we are having singleton class, persistent services, and another section I have created in form of design pattern. This is also going to be very, very important in many of the interviews. If you are going to tell that you are having the working experience on OOPS ABAP, they will be asking the question from the design patterns. First, they will ask whether do you know about the design patterns and all. If you are telling yes, you have to tell like what are the different types of design pattern we are having. Okay, so the different types of design patterns we will study in detail. It has been categorized into different category like creational pattern, structural patterns, behavioral patterns. Under the creational patterns, singleton factory, abstract factory. Okay, the structural pattern, proxy, adapter, facade, behavioral patterns, iterator, and template. These are the different design patterns we are having. This we will be learning in our class. Other also like MVC design pattern, decorator design pattern, observer design pattern, prototype design pattern. This also will understand what all these are. Casting, narrow casting, and wide casting. Some of the OOPS video I have already posted on my YouTube channel. From there you can learn. So this topic already covered over there, narrow casting, wide casting. Okay, this RTTS concept is a very necessary concept if we want to achieve the dynamic programming. Okay, so there it's going to help. We'll understand how we can implement the RTTS concept in our program to create some dynamic internal table. Generally it is being used to create the dynamic internal table. This RTTS concept, it's very powerful. Okay, event handling we are going to understand in detail. Okay, so how we can register the event, how we can raise the event, when we are going to raise the event, how it's going to trigger the methods. Okay, so this we are going to see in global and local. That means in the global class as well as the local class, both. We will understand what is the global class and what is the local class. Okay, then we'll be also looking into all the ALV reports using the classes. Okay, so we are having the ALV reports based upon the OOPS. Okay, so ALV basics we already know using the function module in our ABAP programming. There we have learned in detail. Okay, so here we are going to see how we can write the ALV code using the OOPS concept, that we are going to learn in detail. All these important topics we are going to cover one by one in our classes. Like suppose if you want to create some button in the ALV, right? How you can enable the different buttons on the toolbar, that we are, if you want to disable traffic lights. Okay, then there are so many things one by one we are going to see into the uh, coming classes. Okay, then under the advanced, the standard event handling in ALV report using, then standard like suppose if we're going to double click, if we're going to if you are having the hotspot on the ALV output, if we're going to click over there, how it's going to respond. Okay, how you can manage your toolbar, a menu button. Okay, on press of F1. So different topics we are having listed over here under the advanced OOPS ALV. We'll also be looking under the ALV object model, standard event handling in ALV, this part, and some of the optional topic if we'll be having the time over there, and you are also feeling comfortable, like you are also in terms of time are talking about, if you also will allow me to go ahead, this topic also I would like to cover. This is a very good topic, or else in form of YouTube video I will be sharing with you this application programming control framework, like how the control framework is going to work, classes of control framework, container control, custom and docking, HTML viewer control, ALV tree control. Okay, here application, here XML processing also I have included, call transfer transformation, showing XML, parsing an XML, creating an XML. So these are the topic, is not the mandatory one, but still, like everything is going to be fine and we all feel comfortable, we will go ahead with this topic as well, in terms of like if time permits, or else I will be certainly sharing in form of YouTube video. Okay, so with this, let's go to this topic. Why OOPS? Why do OOPS comes into the picture? What's the reason we come towards the OOPS? Okay, so there are several advantage, there are several reasons we talk about the OOPS. Okay, so if you understand the drawback of the procedural programming, if you understand the drawback of the procedural programming, then you will be able to understand that why this OOPS is going to be beneficial over here. Okay, so the drawback of the procedural programming. Okay, drawback of the procedural programming. So drawbacks of the procedural programming. Procedural means the normal what we are writing in the ABAP, simple, like simply we go into AC38 and we start writing the code over there. Okay, so here the problem is, the very first problem is the security issue. Okay, The very first problem is the security issue. Why the security issue? Why wh- why it does not provide the proper security? The procedural programming language, why is not capable of providing the proper security? Though there also we can use the authorization object, authority check, you know, role based object we can apply when we are going to write our code, but still that is not the very good way to manage the security. That is fine, with the help of that we can do that one, but still there are so many problems with that kind of approach. Okay, with that only we cannot properly manage. For example, suppose if you don't want to hide, uh, for example, though I am having, you know, authorization to see all the data, I'm having authorization to see all the data, but I'm not supposed to see all the data. Why? If you're going to give me the authorization to see all the data, at the data level you have not put any security, because all the data in the procedural programming is a kind of, visible to everyone. If I am having authorization, I will be able to see all the data. You cannot restrict me to see some particular data. If some particular data is very sensitive data and you don't want to let me see, okay, but because you don't have any mechanism to stop to show me that particular data which is very sensitive, it becomes very difficult. If you're going to give once a right to see the data, I will be able to see all the data. You will not be able to stop me to look into, that particular data. But here in the OOPS that is possible. Security is very strong over here. How? With the help of visibility, public, protected, and private, you can maintain the data security. So the security is the one very big advantage over here in the OOPS ABAP. Okay. The second problem, if you talk about the second problem in the procedural programming, the code handling is very big issue. If you have the large project, where you have written lakhs line of code, thousand lines of code you have written over there. So in the large project, to maintain the large number of lines of code, to maintain the large number of, source code is very difficult, is very difficult, very difficult. Okay, because here whatever the mechanism, here what you are having, you are having subroutine, you are having include, right, in order to provide the reusability. Though up to some extent this subroutine, okay, with the help of the subroutine, with the help of the function module, up to some extent you are able to handle the large amount of code, but it's not going to be, it does not give that much flexibility. Here you are getting in the ABAP, what the flexibility you are going to get over here in the ABAP in terms of large amount of code with the help of, you know inheritance and polymorphism. Okay, so the first we'll write about the inheritance, right? So with the help of inheritance, you are going to, reduce the size of your code drastically. With the help of inheritance property, you are going to reduce the size of the code drastically. Okay, and if we're going to apply the polymorphism at the same time, it's going to give you a lot of advantage. That code size again is going to, you know reduce very much. So with the help of inheritance and polymorphism, both are very powerful concept of the OOPS ABAP. Very powerful concept of the OOPS ABAP. Very, very powerful, this inheritance and polymorphism. We are having inheritance is of two types. Okay, we are having inheritance is of two types. One is the multi-level inheritance and another is the multiple inheritance. If we talk about the multi-level inheritance, ABAP supports directly, but multiple inheritance is not being supported by the ABAP. Okay, it's not in its language nature. You will have to use the optional way to support that one. You will have to use the interface, and with the help of interface you can achieve the multiple inheritance, but directly it does not support. Okay, that we will be looking in detail under the inheritance chapter. Let's try to understand over here with the help of inheritance and polymorphism, the size of the code, the size of the code, the length of the code is going to be very much optimized. Okay, so with the help of this, the code redundancy is going to be optimized. You are not going to use the you know redundant code with the help of this inheritance and with the help of this polymorphism. Particularly with the help of inheritance, this code redundancy you are going to avoid. So maybe directly you can give this particular feature of this inheritance. Okay, this is the feature of inheritance that you can avoid the code redundancy, and both together this inheritance, okay, this inheritance and the polymorphism is going to give you several other advantage, like optimized code. Okay, like optimized code. So what are those feature? I will list it down over here. Okay, we are going to list it down. Okay, let us note it down now. What are those advantages? So large code is going to be converted into the small code. Large set of code, large set of code is going to be converted into a small set of code. A small set of code. That's the very first advantage. That's the very first advantage. The second advantage is that, see, actually this advantage is going to employ the second advantage. It is deriving the second advantage. What? You will be having the less workforce, right? If we're having the complex requirement, and the complex requirement, if we're going to write in a small set of code, then you will require a less workforce, you will require the less developer, right? And if you are going to have the less workforce, right, and less time also you will require, because the number of lines of code what you are going to write is small. In that case, obviously the less workforce and less time will be required, and both is less, then the cost is also going to be less, right? Cost is also going to be less. So hence cost is less. Hence cost is less. So that's why the customer is willing to go for the OOPS oriented approach, because you know because of the cost. And the maintainability is also going to improve, right? Because large means the complex requirement, if it is going to be accomplished in the a small set of code, then obviously the maintainability you can maintainability is going to improve. So this particular thing also is going to improve the maintainability. However, the OOPS oriented approach provides you the better modularity. It provides you better modularity. Okay, modularization. And if you are having the better modularization, obviously your code will be having the better readability, right? if your code is modularized, suppose if we are having the subroutine in the normal procedural approach, then you can see with the help of subroutine how much our code is going to be you know readable. So modularization improves the readability and also maintainability. Okay, it improves readability and maintainability, both. It improves readability and maintainability. Okay, so these are some important point we are having. Also, with the help of OOP ABAP, you can apply various kinds of, with the help of OOP ABAP, you can implement various kinds of design pattern. Okay, various kinds of design pattern you can apply. For example, factory design pattern. One of the example of the factory design pattern is the singleton design pattern, right? So the singleton design pattern, okay, singleton design pattern is a type of factory design pattern. So maybe I'm going to write simply over here factory design pattern. So everything, this singleton and all will come in that. So factory design pattern. And then what we are having, facade design pattern, adapter design pattern, right? So there are so many other design pattern we are having that we will be going to see under the coming classes. Okay, so we understood why OOPs, we understood why OOPs. Okay, now let's try to understand what are the things are there under the OOPs. What are the things are there under the OOPs? Once we understand what are the things are there under the OOPs, we will be able to understand that, let me first write what are the things, and then their application we will see, and then we'll try to dig into. Okay, so in the OOPS ABAP, in this OOPS ABAP, we are having, in this OOPS ABAP, we are having various tools, various property. For this OOPS ABAP, we are having the various property. What are those various property with the help of which we are going to achieve the security, inheritance, polymorphism, modularization, design pattern, right? So what are those things which we are having under the OOPS ABAP, right? So in OOPS ABAP, if you talk about, we are having the class concept, right? In OOPS ABAP, we are having the class concept. We will see what is the class, right? We will see what is the class. Before that, let's try to dig into the properties of OOPS ABAP. What are the various property, on what pillar this OOPS ABAP has been based, so that we are going to achieve all this benefit. Okay, so come over here and we'll write a one by one. So the very first one is the encapsulation. Encapsulation. What is encapsulation? What is encapsulation? This encapsulation is nothing but, this encapsulation is nothing but grouping of attributes and methods together. Encapsulation is nothing but grouping of grouping grouping of attributes and method together. This is known as encapsulation. Okay, just to remember this one, you can compare this encapsulation word with the capsule. Okay, so this encapsulation has come from the capsule word. Capsule, if you have seen, inside the capsule we are having the grains, we are having some dust kind of things over there. We don't know how that grains, how that granules has been prepared inside that capsule, right? We are having the capsule over there, and inside that we are having a small, inside this capsule we are having a small, we are going to have the granules over there, right? So a small granules we are going to have, we are going to have the small granules like this. Okay, we don't know how these granules has been formed. Okay, we don't know how these granules is formed, but it has been tightened together, all these granules with its property, right? This has been tightened together with the help of this has been binded together with its formula, like chemical formula would have been prepared, and then only these granules has been prepared in and kept inside this capsule, right? So similarly, encapsulation is nothing but grouping of attributes and methods together. And this encapsulation, to achieve the encapsulation, what we use inside the OOPS, what we use inside the OOPS, we are having the class concept. To achieve this, we are having the class. Okay, so to achieve this encapsulation, to achieve this, we have the concept of class. We have the concept of class. So inside the class, we are going to bind together method and attribute, and this is known as encapsulation. This is known as encapsulation. Okay, this is known as encapsulation. Now, what is the second property? If you talk about the second property, we are having the second property, this one. Let's go and write the second property. What we are having, the second property is nothing but abstraction. Second property is nothing but abstraction. But before going to abstraction, let's discuss about the data hiding. This is one of also important property of the OOPS ABAP. So it's better to discuss about the data hiding before the abstraction. Okay, what is this data hiding? Data hiding is nothing but with the help of visibility, we are going to set the data hiding or data visibility in this OOPS. So what are those keywords? Public, protected, and private. So in OOPS, we can easily achieve the data hiding. In OOPS, in OOPS, we can easily achieve the data hiding concept. Data hiding concept. How? So with the help of the visibility set on the field. Visibility set on the field. What are the visibility defined on the, what are the visibility defined in the OOPS? Set on the data, visibility set on the data. We are having public, right? If it is public, everyone can access. If it is protected, only it can be accessed in the subclass, right? So we'll discuss in detail this one. Just I'm giving a glimpse over here. If it is private, it will be only used in the same class, even it cannot use in the protected one. So with the help of this, we can achieve the, we can achieve the data hiding. We can achieve the data hiding. Then we are having the third concept over here, the abstraction. What is this abstraction? Okay, so data hiding also somewhere it's going to help to achieve the security, right? With the help of data hiding, somehow also it's going to help to achieve the security. Okay, so now the third concept, we are having the abstraction. What is this abstraction? What is this abstraction? Abstraction is nothing but the hiding the method implementation. Hiding the method implementation. So in your class, you are going to have the methods and attributes together, right? So abstraction is going to hide the implementation of the method. We will see how we can achieve the abstraction here. It might not making more sense, but we'll understand. Okay, so that's where the abstract class comes into the picture, right? Abstract class, there we will be having the, at least one empty method, right? We will be having the interfaces. In interface, only the empty method will be there, right? There is no method implementation inside the interface. So that we will see. As of now, just to understand that abstraction is one very important aspect of the OOPS ABAP. Then of course, just 2 minutes ago, around 10 minutes ago, we have discussed about the you know inheritance and polymorphism. So the fourth point we are going to write again the you know inheritance, and the fifth point we are going to write the polymorphism. Okay, so the fourth is inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but with the real time. If we're going to compare this one, inheritance, if we're going to compare with the real time, then it's nothing but suppose uh, a father is having his child. So what will happen? The child is going to inherit all the father property. Okay, and if child is going to you know buy some another property, then extra property also he can have apart from his father's property. So something like that it is. Okay, so inheritance is nothing but the 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 child in when inheritance comes into the picture, you are going to have at least two class, minimum two class, then only inheritance will come into the picture. So the one which is going to be inherited to the child class, this is your child class, and this child class is also, we can tell, the subclass. Okay, the superclass, the different programming language, this is called differently: superclass, base class, fundamental class, right? So here we are having the child class, subclass, and this is also known as the derived class in the OOPS concept. Okay, in the ABAP we generally tell it subclass. Okay, in ABAP we are going to tell it a subclass. Okay, and here the super class. Okay, so the super class and the subclass. So subclass is going to have access for all the method of the super class. Again, it depends on the visibility, how we are going to set the visibility, but typically subclass is going to have the access for all the attributes and methods of the superclass. Means whatever the methods and attributes have been defined for the superclass, that is going to be the part of the subclass as well. Okay, that's the inheritance. That is what inheritance we know. Okay, so with the help of inheritance, you are going to reduce the size of the code a lot. Okay, now it comes to the point number 5, the polymorphism. Polymorphism, again, it's very powerful. Polymorphism, this property of the OOPS is a lot, lot powerful. Okay, so polymorphism, when we talk about the polymorphism, the overriding and overloading comes into the picture. Okay, overriding and overloading. Directly ABAP does not support this overriding. Overriding means the same method with a different signature you are going to use in another class. Suppose a method ABC is here in the super class. Okay, with some certain signatures. In the another class, suppose this class is going to inherit this class. So in this class, the name of the method is going to be same, but the signature is going to be different. This is not allowed directly in the OOPS. Okay, with some workaround we can achieve that one, but directly it is not allowed. We'll see how we can achieve that one. Okay, so one is the overriding, another is the overloading. Okay, overloading we can we can achieve it. So overloading is nothing but just you are going to define differently your a method. That's the overloading. This is possible, this we can do it. Okay, fine. So we have seen some important aspect of the OOPS, and this is going to be very important. And actually we our class is going to run, all the basic concept is going to run around all this. Okay, encapsulation, this or data hiding, Okay, and all this you know uh, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. So all these things, this class mostly about the basic OOPS ABAP. We are going to learn mostly these things in the detail. Okay. Now if we go ahead, okay, and if we compare with some different languages, for example, if you want to compare this ABAP with C++ or Java or .NET, okay, if you want to compare with this some another old language like a small talk or something like that, the old languages who follows the OOPS approach, okay, so there are some difference in terminology. There are some differences in the terminology. For example, if we're going to talk about the, you know, if we're going to talk about the C++, okay, or uh, Java, let me write over here the C++ first. So in the C++, this class is defined differently. Just we are talking about this because I have worked on the C++ and Java and .NET, so I'm having some idea. Just I want to show you that how the terminology has been different in this ABAP, but the concept remains same. Okay, but the concept remains same. However, some of the concept like here, this overriding is possible in Java directly. Okay, in Java, the overriding is possible directly, but here it is not possible. Similarly, the multiple inheritance, right? Inheritance is again of two types, just we have seen, right? It's one is the multiple inheritance and another is the multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. So in Java, this multi-level this both kind of both kind of inheritance is supported, but in ABAP this multiple inheritance is not going to be supported. Only this multi-level inheritance is going to be supported directly. To achieve the multiple inheritance in ABAP, we have to do some workaround that we will be looking into. Here, if you talk about the C++, here in the class, the attributes is known as the data members. Attributes is known as the data members, and the method is known as the member functions. Okay, only the name is different. Only the name is different, but the concept is same. Similarly, in the Java, okay, in the Java, if you talk about the Java, the Java has been defined for this class, the data members is known as the instance variables, and here the method is known as the method only. Okay, methods is known as the methods only. So class is nothing but it's a user defined data types which hold the data members and member functions. So if you have to define the class in the C++, what you will tell, it is a user defined data type. Okay, so actually we are discussing this class in detail, so let me write it class over here. And so first we'll write this class definition, and then we will go ahead and we will try to see that what are the different terminology it's going to be used. Okay, so let's write a definition first, the class definition. So class is a user defined data type. User defined data type. What's the meaning of user defined data type? If we remember the structure in the ABAP class, what we have been discussing in the ABAP class, that a structure is also a user defined data type, which is having the different component having the type as the elementary data type or the data element, right? So if you remember the structure, let's go into the system, and I will just uh, it's a bit slow, no problem. Okay, here I will write it. Okay, so if you talk about, if you remember that we are having these types begin of ty underscore test, let us suppose, and it is having the component, right? So the component one type and the field here you can give the data element, right? So data uh, element of one I'm just giving, and the component two, right? Here the component two type data element to something like that, and end of ty underscore test. So here what we understand, this structure is nothing but a user defined data type having the different component, and the type of the component can be the elementary data type or the data element, right? Here also the class is a user defined data type. The class is a user defined data type having components in form of what? Attributes and methods. Attributes and methods. Okay, attributes and methods. Or some people also tell that class is a template where methods and attributes resides. Okay, class is a template where methods and attributes resides. Some people also tell it class is a group of attributes and methods, but it's better to tell like this: class is a user defined data type having components in form of attributes and methods. Okay, so it all depends how you want to define it. Okay, so this is the important keyword, user defined data type. Okay, so this one just remember. C++ we have just seen, in the Java we have seen, and in the ABAP what it is, nothing but the we are having over here, in the ABAP. If you have ABAP, in ABAP for the class you are going to have the attributes, methods, and not only this. In ABAP, if you talk about the class, attributes and method, that is the primary thing. Apart from this, you are also having the interface. Okay, you are having the interfaces, you are having the events. Okay, you are having the interfaces, you are having the events. You can also create the aliases, over there. So similarly, we can go and check out what are the different components are there in a class. There are two types of class. There are two types of class. Local class and global class. There are two types of class, global class and a local class. Okay, so one is the global class. So global class, as its name suggests, it can be accessed in any of the report, in any of the function module, anywhere it can be accessed if it is the public. Okay, if it is the public, so generally it will be the public only, right? Generally it will be a public only. So the global class, it can be accessed in any of the reports, FM, subroutine, wherever. Okay, methods also, anywhere it can be accessed if it is if its visibility is set to public, and generally typically it will be public only. If its visibility sets to public. Okay, so the global class, this is the global class, and where we can create the T code for this is on nothing but SE24. The T code for this is nothing but the SE24 class builder. This is known as the class builder. Okay, here this is your local class. We create in the report itself. Suppose if you are going to write some report and we want a class to be used in that particular report only. Okay, so it can be it can be created inside a report and accessed over there only, inside a report and accessed in that report only, that report only. Okay, so not it can be, it is actually, it is created, it is created inside a report and accessed in that report only. You cannot access that local class outside of that report. Okay, most of the time we are going to create the global class only. Let's go and create one global class. Okay, log into the system and we'll create quickly a one, you know. Mm, just a second. Yeah, go to /n sc24 is the class builder and I would like to create one class over here. Let's go and create one class. Z, today is 22nd August, so Z evening batch EB. I'm just going to write the naming convention and then 22 August CL demo 1. So why I'm writing like this, so that I will be able to better remember every time. Okay, I will be able to remember it, but the CL we can give it in beginning. Okay, ZCL EB22 August, the CL we can remove demo 1. It's fine now. Okay, so if we're going to search, we'll be able to search. Okay, so here, this is the two option it's giving over here to create. One is the class and another is the interface. So from SE24, either we can create the class or interface, both is possible. I'm going to select this class, which is by default over here. Click on this OK button, give some description. Okay, so a demo 1 over here. Here you can see that here it's telling the instance generation. The meaning of instance generation means where you can create the object for this particular class. Okay, where you can create the object for this particular class. So I would like to create the object in the report or in some function module, something like that. So how we can create? If it is public, then only you can create. So you were setting the visibility for this particular class. So here you can see the public, protected, private, abstract. If we're going to give the protected, you will not be able to create the instance for this particular class. Okay, you will be not able to create the instance of this particular class. We will see what I'm talking about, the instance and all. Okay, let's set the public over here. It's important. Okay, it's important if you want to access in a report. You have the different types of class: usual ABAP class, exception class, persistent class, and test class ABAP unit. Okay, the four types of classes we are having. We are going to create the usual ABAP class. Our most means 85% focus will be here only, or I would say 90% of the focus will be here on the usual ABAP class. We will see how we can create the exception class also. We'll see how we can create the persistent class, persistent services, to achieve the persistent services. Some of the videos for persistent services I've already put on the YouTube. You can go and learn how you can create the persistent services with the help of persistent class. Okay, and then the test class, if you want to automate the ABAP unit testing, for that purpose this test class can be created. Okay, now here, this is the final. What's the meaning of final? If we're going to check this one, you will not be able to inherit this class into some another classes. That means it's going to be your final class. Okay, so if it is marked, you will not be inherit into subclass, means it cannot produce child. This class cannot produce child class. It cannot produce the subclass. It cannot produce the derived class if we're going to mark this final. If you want to produce that, you have to remove this final tick mark. Okay. As of now, let it be by default. Click on the save button. Local object. I don't want to transport. This is the demo system. I have selected the local object over here, and now one graphical editor will come over here, and it will give a lot of option to create the methods, interface. It is having under the property section, you can see these are the property. If you want to use some type group and all, you can put the type group which you want to use over here. However, in this release it is not necessary to give the type group directly. You will be able to use. Okay. Interfaces, there is no interface as of now. Let's go and define some attributes. Okay, let's go and define some attributes. I'm going to give some attributes. ATR of 1. Label, visibility. What's the meaning of label? If you press F4 over here, it's going to give the instance attribute, static attribute, constant. What you want to mark it, this one. What's the meaning of instance? What's the meaning of static? What's the meaning of constant? Okay, we will see this one, the meaning of instance, static, and constant. Okay, mostly constant, what is the meaning of constant. We'll see the difference between this instance and static. Okay, this both is related with the memory, how the memory reference has been created. It is related with that. At this point of time, I'm going to select this instance attribute. Okay, the visibility, how the visibility, it should be there. I'm going to give the public, select from here, and 2 is for public. Select this 2. Type, the associated type, I'm going to give the char 5. Okay, if you want to give some description over here, you can give some custom description. Okay, custom description you can give. Initial value also, the by default value, if you want to give over here, it is possible to give. Okay, and after that there is nothing, just it is going to be end over here. Attribute, another attribute, attribute 2 I'm going to define, and this attribute I'm going to mark it as a instance once again, this one. And this also we can make it public. Associated type, we are going to give the cap 5 only, and here come to this attribute ATTR 3. Static, I'm going to mark it, press enter, give over here the public only, and we can give some associated type, again car 5 or car 4, something like that. Save it. Now we are going to define some method. I want to add 2 numbers. Okay, we're going to start from very basics. I want to add 2 numbers. So to add 2 numbers, we require 2 parameters. So where we can define the parameters. So first I'm going to define this method. Okay, add method, this level, come over here and select the instance method. Okay, the visibility, I'm going to select the public, and the description to add 2 numbers. Select this one. I would like to provide some import parameters so that I can pass the value over here to add 2 numbers. im underscore value 1, and the type. Okay, type keyword, it is having several options like importing, importing, exporting, changing, and returning. It is having the several options. Just because I want to get this import parameter, select this importing parameter, typing method, type, type, and type ref2, like type and type ref2. So if you are going to give the reference of some class or interface, you can select the last one. Okay, if we're going to give some reference of a structure hyphen field, you can use this like, or else we are just going to give this type. The associated type we are going to give this char5, and then im underscore value 2, we can give the importing, and again this char5, and that's fine. Just press enter. So importing parameter just to take the value, and the exporting parameter, whatever the sum is going to have, we just want to return back. So here you will have to give the exporting parameter. Exporting stands for 1, right? So simply you can give 1 over here, and that's fine. And if you press the enter, the exporting will come. So by just you can simply give the number over here, it will take. Now I would like to write some source code. Okay, so you can click on the source code and you can just go and write the code over there. So ex underscore, click on the signature so that you will be able to see what the value is coming and what the value is going. So ex underscore sum equals im underscore value of 1 plus im underscore value 2, full stop. Click on this pretty printer, and now okay, check it and activate it.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, you have taken IM value 1 and IM value 2 as character field. So can
Mm-hmm.
we add in this case the values?
Yes, we can add.
Okay, okay.
Correct. Yeah, character data type supports the arithmetic operation as well. You can do plus, you can do a star, you can do minus, you can do division. All the arithmetic data type it supports. Okay, so you can do that one. There is no problem. So I'm just going to add it up, and it will return the value. Pretty printer, check the syntax now. Activate this one, and it is now activated. Just go back and activate this one also, everything. Okay, once you have activated, the required object has been generated. Now I want to test this method. Which method? This method. Only one method we are having. I want to test this method. So if you want to test this method, just run this class over here itself. Okay, and here some attribute we have given: attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3, right? Like that we have given. Why only attribute 3 is only coming? Attribute 1, attribute 2 has not come. What's the reason? If you go and check for this attribute 1 and attribute 2, it's the instance attribute. It's the instance attribute. Okay, so because this is the instance attribute, and when we are running this class, the class when we run it is getting called statically. Okay, so this attribute 3 is the static attribute. That's why this option is only coming. If you want to see that particular option, you can click on this instance method. Okay, you can click on this instance, it will create an instance. The method is also, you can see that method is our method. If you go and check, our method is the instance method. That's the reason here method is not listed. So you want to test your method, and your method is instance method. You would like to create one instance of this particular class. Okay, we will see the difference between instance and static. As of now, just to understand that if we're going to click on this particular instance, it will generate one instance, and here you can see that the instance both is coming, and your instance variable can access the static one also. That's why this is also visible over here, and add is also coming over here. Okay, now you can give it over here. You can execute this one. You can give this value 30 and 40. Just run this one, and you will get the output 30 plus 40 equal to 70. Okay, now if you would like to debug it, click on this debugging, and you will be able to debug. So okay, come over here. You can see that this is the value, this is the value, and you can directly debug it from here. So that is possible. So this much we understood. Now let's go and quickly create one class. Okay, create one report, and there we are going to use this particular class. So Z MB20 Z report actually we are going to create. So EB, and this is the 22 August report 1 demo 1. Click on this create and give some title, and here executable program, the type is 1, and now it's fine. Click on this save button, local object. Now here I want to call this particular method, and you can see that this is the instance method. So with the help of the instance, you know, with the help of the instance, we can call this particular method. So for that, we'll have to create an instance. Okay, what is the instance? What is the static? We are talking about this instance, static, all these things. I think this is the right time where we can discuss it about the instance and static. Okay, so whenever any class we create, for example, suppose this is your class, you have created one class over here. In this class, if you talk about that this is your class, in this class you are having this attributes, again you are having another attributes, again you are having another attributes. Okay, so the different attributes you are going to have, 3 attributes just have taken over here. And now these are the attributes, what we have defined over here under the attributes, attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3. Okay, so this is the attribute 1, A1 I'm just giving, this is A2, this is A3. Okay, so A1, A2, A3, these are the attributes. Now, and this is your class, and this class you are also having some methods. For example, you are having the method called here add method. You can have another method also, subtract method. You can have the multiple method. You can have the multiple method, add, subtract. These are the different attributes, and this is your class. What you have over here is class. Okay, so this class, suppose this class name is math. This name of the class is math. Okay, a math class. This math class is having attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3, add, subtract method. But the thing is that this attribute you will have to define into some category, like it is the instance attribute or a static attribute. Okay, like that you will have to define. So if you are having the instance attribute, if you have the instance attribute, and this is you are having the static attribute. So to identify that this is the instance attribute, I'm just going that ins instance attribute, and here also I'm going to give that this is ins2, and here I'm going to give that static attribute, okay, sta3. Okay, this method, one method I'm going to give that, you know, instance method, and here we are having the static method, so the two different method also are given over here. Okay, now what I mean to tell over here that, for example, you know, for example, you are going to create one instance of this particular class, then only you will be able to access this instance. With the help of instance, you can access the static attribute also. Okay, a static attribute, to access the static attribute, we don't have to create the instance. To access the static attribute, a static method, you don't have to create the instance. Directly with the help of this math class, you can access them. How? You can use like this math. Okay, and the static method is what you are having, sta sub. You can call this sta underscore sub method, and whatever the parameter and all you have given, exporting, importing, all these things you can give as you can give. But you cannot access the instance attribute and the instance methods. So to do that, you will have to create the instance. You will have to instantiate this class. Once you instantiate this class, the object will be generated for this particular class. Okay, this is a class. For this class, if we're going to instantiate this class, what will happen that it will generate a object. So object of 1 you can create, and similarly if we're going to instantiate the second time, it is going to create the second object. And as many object is going to be created, the different memory is going to allocate for this object. Okay, the different memory is going to allocate for this object. That's what I'm trying to tell over here. Okay, so now if the different memory is going to be allocated, then what will happen? So this is the game of the memory actually. This everything is this instance and static is the game of the memory. So when the different memory area is going to be, suppose this object 1 is the different memory area, assume that this is a different memory area. Here also the different memory area. Okay, so in the different memory area, here let us suppose this is a memory area. Here the memory will be allocated for the instance A1 also, instance A2 as well, and for the static, you know uh, forget that static. I will show you that static, how the memory will be allocated for that one. So whatever the instance attribute is here, for that the separate memory will be created. So two instance attribute is there. So for this two instance attribute, the separate memory will be created. The instance A1, one separate memory will be there. Okay, and for instance A2, again the separate memory will be there. Okay, similarly for this instance address is the name of the method. Okay, instance is the name of the a method. So just park this method concept over here. Let's first understand this attributes one, and then we will go to the a method, instance method, and a static method, how we can use it one. Okay, so as soon as the object 1 is going to get create, as soon as the object 1 is going to get create, the two separate memory for these two different variable is going to be created. So for example, I'm going to create the two separate memory. This is one memory and this is another memory. The separate memory is going to be created. But whatever the static you are having, whatever the static attribute you are having, static memory is going to always have the same memory location. It will not instantiate. It will always point to the same memory location. This is static. So you have the object, one, here you have the object two. So the object two also the different, different variable. Okay, so here you can see that for this object 2, the instance of 1 instance A1 is going to be created over here. Okay, and another memory you are having over here, instance A2. Okay, instance A2. So the separate memory for here, also the separate memory, here also the separate memory. So as many as object you will create, the different memory area will be allocated for all the variables. Okay, but this static attribute, the same memory reference will be here. So this object, whatever this object you are having, it will be pointing to the same static attribute. Similarly, this object is also going to point out the same static attribute. So suppose you have created one object one over here, right? And how to access a particular attribute of a object, we are going to use the single arrow mark. Okay, so what I mean to say that, if you want to for example, if you want to supply the value over here 5, how you can put the value over there 5? You will give the object one the name of the object, because this is the instance attribute, right? So name of the object, and then the name of the attribute. So name of the attribute is what? Instance A1. Okay, and here you will have to use like this. Okay, object 1 single arrow mark instance A1 equals to some value you are going to supply 10. So now here at this memory location 10 will come and sit. Okay, now if we're going to give the object 2 and then instance A 2 equals 15, in that case for here it's going to come 15 is going to come and sit. Similarly, if you are having object 1 instance 1 object 1 instance A2, now the object 2 instance A1 equals to object 2 instance A1 equals to, I'm going to give 20 over here, and object 2 and instance A2 I'm going to give 30 over here. So what the value will come and sit over here, it is going to have the value over here at 20, and here it's going to have the value 30. Okay, but just see here, observe carefully over here. If we're going to give the value over here for this static attribute, okay, what you are going to give the value? Object 1. Okay, and what's that one? Static attribute STAA3. The name is STAA3. If we're going to give the value over 20, the value is going to come over here 20. Now the object of 1 value itself, we're going to change it. A3 equals to 40. Then what the value will come over here? It will change the 40, right? First it is 20, then 40. Now suppose if we're going to use this object 2 and change the value over here, STAA 3 equals to 490. Okay, then this object 2 static attribute 3 is, I'm setting the 90 over here. Will this value will get changed? Will this value will get changed? Any one of you?
Yeah, it will be changed.
Yes,
Uh,
it will be changed. It will be changed because both the
Same.
object is pointing to the same memory location. In case of a static attribute, both the you know both the object is pointing to the same memory location. So here now the value is going to be changed. Okay, so this is the meaning of a static attribute. We'll see its implementation, why it's important. Okay, why it's important, when the static attribute is going to play a important role. One real-time example we will see. Okay, here, here object2 instance a1 is 20. It's not going to change its value. The first one value, it will not change, it will change its value. Suppose if we're going to write, object2 instance a1 equal to 40, it will change this value, not this value, because a separate memory area is allocated over here. Okay, so hope the instance and static concept is clear. For the method, we are having the separate rule. We will see what are those rules for the methods. Okay, if we are having the instance method, if we are having the here in case of method, it is not going to allocate any memory area or something like that. Okay, but there are some certain rules which need to be followed in case of static and instance. However, if something is going to be wrong, it will give you the syntax error over here, so you don't have to bother much. At the runtime, you are going to get at the compile time, or in the worst case, in the runtime, you will be getting the error. Okay, so come over here. Now we are going to create the data reference. Okay, we are going to create the object. So to create the object, first we'll have to create the reference. How to create the object? How to create the object? The question is how to create the object. How to create the object. So to create the object, we have to follow the two steps. However, in new syntax, one step is sufficient. But in the older approach, we are going to follow the two steps. One is, in the first step, define the reference of the variable. Define the reference of the variable. And in the second step, you will have to create the object. Create the object. So define the reference means memory reference. We'll have to tell some place. Okay, we'll have to tell to the system about some place. We have to tell, and once the space is defined, once the address is defined, that this is the address, on that address we'll have to create the object and set the object over there. So these are the two steps. First, let's go and create the reference. So to create the reference, what actually we'll have to do that, first we'll define one variable. For example, let us suppose gr, the reference variable, object1, type ref2, and what's the name of the class? The name of the class zcl mb something something, it is control space. I think this is not the correct, not the mb, actually it's eb control space. This is the name of the class. Just press enter and automatically the class will be selected over here. Okay, now what you will have to do, that create object, you will have to write and give the gr underscore obj1. Now your object has been created. Okay, now your object has been created. Now with the help of this object, if you see, with the help of this object, if I'm going to what are the attributes we have defined over here, you can see that this is the attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3. Attribute 3, the third attribute is the static one. The first and second is the instance one. Static attribute also you can access through the instance object, right? Through the object also you can access. So here I'm going to give the attribute of 1, press give the 20 over here, and then gr underscore obj2. One obj2 also I'm just going to define the two object, gr underscore object 2. Okay, give the comma. Using the chain operator, we can define both the object, right? Copy this one and give it over here. Okay, so this gr underscore object 2 is your second object, right? Control space, and here also I'm going to give the attribute 2. Okay, attribute 1 equal to 20, attribute 2 equal to 20. Okay, here you can see that I'm going to give the one. Okay, gr object 1 attribute 1 and gr object 2 attribute 1 equals to 30, right? And now gr underscore object 1 attribute ATTR 3 is the static one. So here we are having the 40 and gr underscore obj of 1, again the second attribute, second object, and here I'm going to give the ATTR3 equals to 50. Okay, and now I'll give the breakpoint. Now can you tell me what will be the output? Okay, what will be the output for this? What will be the output for this? Here suppose I'm going to write that gr underscore obj 1 ATTR1. Okay, so just mute as of now. Please mute as of now. Yeah, and when you will have to give the answer, you can unmute. So let me write it and then you can unmute and tell. So here gr underscore object 1 attribute 1 and then gr underscore object 2 hyphen attribute 1. Okay, so I'm just asking to you what will be the output for this and what will be the output for this. Yeah, just observe over here. What will be the output of this attribute 1 here?
30 and
Just
50.
30 and
20, 30, 50.
20, 30 and 50. Only 2
20.
we have.
Yes.
Not
No,
only
no, sir. 30 and 50 only.
yeah, 30 and 50. Yes,
50.
we are having 30 and 50 because attribute 1 and here attribute 3. So attribute 3, this object 2, we are having the static, this attribute 3 is the static attribute, and because it's a static attribute, at the same memory location it is going to override this 40 with 50. But here this is the different one. This attribute 1 is having the different memory location, this attribute 1 is having the different memory location because this object is different over here. Okay, and this attribute is the instance attributes, so separate memory has been allocated. So the 30 and 50 will be the result. Let's go and see the result, how the result is. Okay, how the result is. Press F8, press F8, and you can see that the result is 30 and 50. So the concept is correct, what we have understood till now. And with this we'll stop our session over here. It's going to be 9, so generally it's going to be 7:30 to 9 only. 1.5 hours of class will be there. Still we are having 5 minutes. Let's do something more. I'm going to call that a static method. How you can call that a static method? Okay, so directly with the help of, see, with the help of this object also you can call the static method. With the help of class also you can call the static method. Okay, so the question over here, how to access the static, how to access the static attribute first. Okay, attribute first and then we will see the method. So to access the static attribute, two way you are there, with the help of class and with the help of this object. Both way you can access the attribute. So for example, I want to access this attribute 3. This is the static one. What you can do, directly you can give the class name over here, copy this and paste it over here, and here the name of the attribute, you can see only attribute 3 is coming. So directly with the name of class you can access this one. Okay, and here also you will get the same output 50 only. Okay, because the latest value is the 50, it will give you the 50 only. So in the new line I'm just going to write it. Press F8 and you can see that the 50 it's giving you the answer. So with the help of this also directly you can do. Now how to access the how to access the static attribute, how to access the static method. So to access the static method, what you can do that you can use this class, copy this class and then control space. That method was actually instance method. Okay, that method was instance method, that's why it's not coming over here. But if we are going to convert that method to the static, or let me use some method subtract and mark it as static method, and then it must be public, then only we'll be able to access over there, otherwise it's not possible. Subtract, come over here, double click, and of course you'll have to define the parameters, the im underscore value 1, im underscore value 2, and then the type, and you can give this time some integral value over int1, something like that. Int1 will be very small, so we can give something int4, so it can accommodate larger value as well. Sorry, here in the type actually we'll have to give it is importing or exporting. Okay, so importing, here also it's importing, and press enter, give the ex underscore subtracted value, the result I'm going to give the exporting. Come over here and int 4, like that I have just given over here. Go to the source code and here we'll write the code. So subtract equal to what we are having, the im underscore value 1 minus im underscore value 2, that's it, and ex underscore sub actually. Okay, so now if you go and activate this one, some error is coming, I is unknown. What, where is I? Int for default I. Okay, somewhere I have given the value by mistake. Go to, yeah, here you can see the default I. That's the problem. Remove this default value. This is not a valid value. Yes, and activate this one. It's now activated. Go to the method and double click over here. From here also you can come, it's fine, it's activated. Now go to the program, come over here, and now if you give the control space, okay, it should come that static method actually. Okay, but it's not coming. Let me refresh it. Okay, subtract, this static method is there directly with the help of class. I'm just willing to access. It's not coming at this point of time, no worries. Let me go and refresh it. So this one, that's not coming, no issue. What I will do, that we'll use the pattern, okay, or we will use like this, so that system will understand that I'm trying to call the method. Actually it's not understanding that I'm trying to call the method. I'll have to give the method keyword over here, control space, not, it's not working, no problem. We'll use the pattern over here. It's easy to use the pattern. We can go and use the pattern. What's the name of this? Okay, and this is the name of the class. Actually this is the name of the class. Go to this pattern and select this class, this one, ABAP object pattern. Click on this OK button, and here this. If you want to create the object from here also, you can create. It's very easy to create from here. Give the name of the class and the method. The static one will come automatically. Here you can see the subtract is the static method. If you can click on this OK, you can see that with the help of this axis, with the help of this double, the equal and arrow, it is getting accessed over here. And okay, so copy this one now and write it over here. So I could have put the cursor over here, then I would have clicked over here, it would have generated over here, but by mistake I put the cursor over here. That's why this code was generated over there. Okay, so this is coming as a mandatory because the second one I have selected as the mandatory. I'm underscore value and I'm going to give 30 over here, and this I'm going to give 20, and the importing parameter is always by default will be the optional one. Okay, and here we can get the value lv or gv underscore sub. We can define this dv underscore sub, gv underscore sub, type int for exact data type should be there, otherwise it will give you the error. Check the syntax, runtime error it will give. Okay, so the same data type should be there. And now if you just want to print it, you will be able to print gv underscore sub, activate this, activate, press F8, and you can see that the 10 is coming as a output, 30 minus 20. Put the breakpoint over here, and if you want you can debug it how it's working. The control has flown to here, press F5. This is the sub method. I underscore value 1, I'm passing the 30. I'm underscore value 2, I'm passing 20. 30 minus 20, it's 10, right? 30 minus 20, it's 10. And here the value has been stored the gv, and it's like that you can debug it. So this is what we have understood in our today's class about the static and instance attribute. In tomorrow class we will see OOPS introduction application of OOPS in SAP. What is the application of OOPS in SAP? Everywhere in OData, in SAP UI5, right? In many other places, in workflow also some places you are going to use. So most of the places in CRM ABAP, in SRM ABAP, right? Everywhere this OOPS is going to be there. So these are the applications. Okay. Features and advantages we have seen. Introduction to class and object, difference between structures and classes. This I will just let you know what is the difference. Okay, a structure is having only the components in form of the flat data type, like, but in the class you are having the collection of method and attributes. Here you are having only the attributes, you don't have the method and all, right? You are having the only field, you don't have method. In the class you are having the method, you are having the events, you are having the interfaces, you are having aliases. All these things are there in the ABAP class. Okay, types of ABAP class, there are 4 types of ABAP class we have seen in detail in the further chapter. Just this is the basic overview. Class components, right? The class component was nothing but the same what we have seen, the different component it is, right? So if you see here, we are having the different component, right? Interfaces, friends, attributes, methods, events, types, aliases. So these are the different components of the class we are having, right? Visibility section, public, protected, and private. This we'll discuss in detail in tomorrow class. Local class also, we'll see how we can create the local class. Class builder, this we have completed. Let me mark what we have completed. This is the normal one. So much concept are there. Instance and static attribute, this we have understood. Instance and static method, this is a little tricky. This one, some rules are there, only nothing is tricky. Some rules are there that need to be followed. Okay, if conceptually we are strong, we will be able to identify how the static methods, what are the limitation and all. If you don't remember, also the compiler will give the error at compile time, and the worst case it's going to give you the runtime error. So nothing to worry. Returning keyword we'll see tomorrow. However, let me mark it in a green. Application You understood the features and advantage of the OOPS ABAP, introduction to class and object, difference between structures and classes. This I will types of ABAP class. 4 types I have just shown you over there. The class components. This let it be like this only. Once we complete the exception handling and all, I will try to complete this. All this, the remaining one, we'll try to convert tomorrow. Okay, or maybe time permits, I will show you this one also. Constructors, very, very important. Constructors, it's a very interesting and important. Okay, inheritance, we'll see in detail. Okay, so with this, let's stop our today's class and we'll meet tomorrow. If you have any question, please feel free to ask over here. Okay, any question if you have? Any question?
Hello, Pankaj.
Yes.
Pankaj, could you please tell him, declare the inline declarations also in OOPS ABAP as well as.
Yes, we are going to, you are going to see the inline declaration along with the old declaration. Okay, so once
Yes,
I
yes.
will, yeah, I will start with the old, but side by side I will be showing with the inline the new syntax as well. Okay, so I will take care of that part because
Yes,
that
yes.
nowadays it's a mandatory. So here, like, you know, in this it's very easy to create the instance with the help of new, you know, the new syntax. Simply what you will have to write it over here, that, you know, you'll have to use the data. And suppose if you want to create some object over here, just you go and write new and the name of the class. Okay, what's the name of the class? This one, and it will create one object. Okay, so this is the new syntax. Just, you know, this is the way. So good that you have remembered, and you'll have to just use like this. Check the syntax now. If some error, no error, so it will create one another object. So you can see that only one line of code we are supposed to write in order to create an object if we're going to use the new syntax. Okay, it is like JavaScript. Okay, in JavaScript also, you know, it's very easy to create the object and all. Java and JavaScript both are different. Okay, fine then. This is also one way using the inline declaration. So whenever I feel that, you can also keep me reminding, you know, whatever I know the inline declaration, I will just share with you. For that you don't have to worry. I will keep that thing in mind. Okay, any other question, anything else related with this concept? If you are means if you are facing some difficulties or something like that, if you have any problem, please feel free to, you know, ask any question if you have any question. And if you have, you know, any personal query, you can this is my WhatsApp number. Here you can directly ping me. Okay, if you have any personal query, you can directly ping me over here. Okay, my email ID is pankajkumaram@gmail.com. Okay, fine then, we can stop it over here. So thank you for attending the demo session. Let's meet tomorrow. Tomorrow is also our second demo session, and after that only this class will be there on Saturday and Sunday in evening from 7:30 to 9, or maximum it will go to the 9:15 like that. Okay, fine then, good night, bye bye.